Hello and welcome back to Bitesize Boxing. Today we're going to be talking about Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis, the fight that took place last night as the co-main on the Fury Makhmudov card. Now, where do we start with this one? So, Conor Benn obviously has been in the news in recent years for pretty much all the wrong reasons, and it's been pretty much an unmitigated PR disaster. This fight wouldn't have helped with that. Now, to set the scene, Regis Prograis, very much a faded force at this point, and a career 140-pounder. Now, not a bad fighter at all in his own right. Regis Prograis in his prime was a good fighter, a very, very good world champion. Now, the problem is that if you were around during Regis's prime, there was actually talk of him moving down in weight to 135 at the height of his prime, not moving up. And that was because Regis was a very small 140-pounder. In fact, when you see him at weigh-ins, he would often not be ripped at all, which is very rare for fighters, particularly down at the lower weights, in and around where Regis is. So this is a guy who's a very small 140-pounder, who Conor Benn dragged up to 150, and not only did he not get him out of there, he didn't look impressive at all, Conor Benn. Now, there was one thing he did that I thought was actually quite good, and that was the adjustments he made during the fight. But as per how the fight dragged out, it was not a good performance. So early on, Conor Benn, I think, kind of wanted to go in there and blitz Prograis, and he was started very, very fast, really kind of just trying to take him out, I suppose. Those fast combinations, good in and out movement, what we're used to seeing from Conor Benn, really. And the first sort of 2 rounds followed that pattern. But Regis Prograis, I have to say, he looked awful in there, by the way. He looked absolutely dreadful, shot to bits. Something that I really emphasised in my Chisora preview is that when a fighter is shot, their legs go. Regis Prograis' legs have been gone for years now. I mean, in that Devin Haney fight, they were gone. Not that, he was ever going to keep up with Haney's feet, even prime for prime. He's never had quick feet, Regis. But the balance was all over the place. And this is a guy as well who's been getting hurt by people like Jojo Diaz and Devin Haney, non-punchers. And so you go in there against Conor Benn, you're being dragged up in weight. There's a lot of rumours of injuries, rumours that Regis Prograis has since confirmed. So we know that this is not the best version of Regis Prograis at all. And so Benn starts fast, he tries to take him out, but he can't. And not only that, once you get into sort of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, Regis actually starts finding his timing a little bit. Yes, he can't match Benn for speed, but he's able to kind of time him from time to time. And that starts making Conor Benn retreat a bit. And in those mid-rounds, Conor Benn starts looking quite uncomfortable in there, to be honest. And he switches from fighting on the front foot to fighting on the back foot. And not only was he fighting on the back foot, but he did not look particularly effective at all doing it. And Regis Prograis started to actually look quite good. But Conor Benn did actually make quite a smart adjustment. I don't remember exactly which round it was. It was one of the mid-rounds where Conor Benn started basically a complete frenzied body attack where for the entirety of that round, he just was body hunting, not head hunting at all, just aiming for the body. And then for the following round, Regis Prograis came out and he was gassed. It had completely drained his gas tank. Obviously an old guy, riddled with injuries, barely able to stand on his own 2 feet. He just sustained a heavy body attack, and that was it. That was him done. And then for the rest of the fight, Conor Benn just kind of cruised to a decision. So, let's analyse that. I mean, look, Conor Benn at this stage should be going in there and just walking through Regis Prograis like a doorway. Let's be really honest about it. You shouldn't be labouring to a points decision, especially not a decision where you've had to make adjustments because you were struggling in the fight. It's not a good look at all. Look, he hasn't lost this fight, but this has done nothing to raise, the profile or, make people excited about Conor Benn. This was a really bad performance. Yes, he made adjustments and he was able to get the win, and I suppose that is the most important thing. But at a time when Conor Benn's image is being criticised as heavily as it has been in recent years, and really what he needs is a good statement performance, that was not this performance. That was again, he was getting tagged in there, and at points, as I say, before Conor Benn started that body attack, he started to look very uncomfortable in there. He got cut above both eyes, and they seemed to... Admittedly, that was from head clashes, because you had the orthodox versus the southpaw, and you know how the angles line up. So they were from head clashes, that has to be said. But that being said, as soon as he got cut, and Prograis started to find even some semblance of timing, Conor Benn looked really worried in there. He did not look like he wanted... At points, I'm not going to say he didn't look like he wanted to be in there, but he looked very, very, very uncomfortable. Far more so than I think we've seen Conor Benn look probably ever. And again, this was against a completely shot, tiny, undersized, riddled with injuries Regis Prograis. So it's not a good look. But yeah, look, Conor Benn made the adjustments. He got the win. As for what's next, I mean, there's talk of Ryan Garcia. I mean, Ryan Garcia must be licking his lips looking at that performance, because based on what we've seen, and look, Ryan Garcia definitely blows hot and cold. This is a guy who lost to Rolly Romero, for God's sake. Who, look, Rolly Romero is one of the worst world champions in the sport, and so to lose to that guy, yeah. You know, we know that Garcia can certainly blow hot and cold, but based on what we've just seen there, the athleticism and the speed and the timing of Garcia should be far too much for Conor Benn. Conor Benn would get iced, I think, in probably 7 rounds, something like that, based on that performance, if that version of Benn shows up. And the reason I say that version of Benn is because, of course, Benn was looking very explosive up until a certain point. I do think the matchmaking, you know, the Adrian Granadases of the world, the Van Heerdens of the world, you know, shot old fighters who can't necessarily hold the best shot to begin with, they were always fodder for Benn. Benn was always supposed to look good in those fights, but I think it's very fair to raise an eyebrow now, especially given, yes, he's cut weight, but the physique doesn't look as defined as it once did. He looks noticeably smaller, Benn. And Benn was a guy, by the way, that when he first turned over, because I've watched Benn since his debut, he was very small. He was very, very small, very scrawny. He never, ever looked like a 147-pounder. He always looked like a guy who could have easily made 140, maybe even 135 when he first turned over. I'm being serious. He was a tiny guy. And so, and the people I know who've been around Benn have all said the same as well. But he bulked up muscle-wise, and again grew into 147, but now he's fighting at 140, and he looks smaller at 150, and he looks smaller here at 150 than he'd looked in some of his latter 147 fights. So make of that what you will, but he's very clearly laboured in this fight, and again, the power wasn't there. So question marks definitely remain now for Conor Benn. And as far as what's next, I mean, look, the guy's kind of gone down the gimmick fighter route. It doesn't look like he's really looking for the best fights and wants to fight the best and, you know, wants to build a big repertoire of, you know, good, highly skilled people on his resume. He just wants to go where the bag is. At the moment, the Ryan Garcia bag is there, so he'll probably go in that direction. Previously, you know, because of the fathers, the Eubank Jr. fight was there. That was the money fight, so he went for that. So that just seems like, and again, even with this, right? The Zuffa bag was there, so he took this fight. He's just sort of doing it for the money. So I don't think we can really expect too much from Conor Benn. Maybe you think I'm being too harsh, but again, I just think this guy's basically just gone down the gimmick route, and I don't really see that changing, to be honest. I think he'll just go wherever there's a bag, and if he loses, he loses. I think that's probably his mentality. So long as he can get a bag out of it, I don't think he really cares. I think he's someone who admittedly did really commit himself to the sport, because he's had to, you know, he's improved massively from when he first turned over and from when he was young in his career. You know, he looked like almost a Johnny Fisher in waiting. He's not quite that level of gimmick fighter, but he's someone that now he's reached a certain level has just gone, you know what, I'm just going to only focus on money and that's it. So I think, again, I don't really know what to say about this fight. It wasn't a good performance. It's not really going to make people particularly excited about Conor Benn, but you let me know what you think, and yeah, take it easy, guys. Cheers.